What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We are at June 1st of 2033 in our expansion franchise with the Mobile Bay Bears. We sit fourth in the division, 4 games back at 28-23. If you watched the last episode, you might remember that we had a rough start to the year in April, but May was a much better month. We finished that month at 18-11 after we started 10-12 in April. So things are trending in the right direction. We also had an injury at the end of that episode. We had Juan Cardenas go down for torn ligaments in his ankle. Says he's only going to be out 5 weeks. Something tells me it might be a little longer than that. That's a pretty serious injury. And Jeff Middleton, we just got back, and he is currently on a rehab assignment. So we will get him back to the major leagues hopefully pretty soon, as well as Mason Davis. He is due to be back in about 2 weeks. He is there for an intercostal strain. So dealing with some injuries right now. Obviously, we lost Josh Leeson again with the first game in spring training again this year. But we did make a roster move, and it did actually make us make 2 moves. We designated for assignment Mason Barnett, a 32-year-old we had in the minor leagues. We really just didn't have him in the pitching rotation and or bullpen, mainly because of his control. He struggled with that throughout his career, and we really just didn't have a spot for him. He's also was due to make almost $2.5 million in arbitration, but now that we DFA'd him, he'll just be a free agent at the end of the year. So not a big deal. We were saving some money there with the $2 million. And he wasn't really going to play for us unless another multiple injuries happen, which God forbid that happens. But we had to make that move because we have a 40-man roster that was full, and we need to make room on the roster for a outfielder that we called up, Gilberto Mendoza. We got him from Montreal this year. We traded for him, so he doesn't really have any history. He's one of those players that the game created for the expansion teams, but he has a decent hitting profile and obviously extremely good base running ability and very solid outfield defensive abilities. So at the major league minimum, looks like he'll be eligible for arbitration next year. Looking at $3.4 million, but that'll obviously depend on how he plays in the major leagues, and we don't know if he's going to be up a considerable amount of time because Mason Davis will be back soon. But we needed to call him up an outfielder that could play in the outfield because we had no outfield backups to give our starting outfielders days off, so they were getting tired. You can see Jorge Rivera is exhausted. He needs a day off. And Javorsky Lane Jr. is tired at 58%. So we needed to bring up an outfielder to kind of spell them a little bit after we had to move some guys around that were basically able to play outfield and spell some players, but were not going to because of the position we had to put them at because of Cardenas going to the IL. So that is why we made that move, and we're actually going to slide him into the starting rotation or the starting lineup. He plays great defense in right field, so we're going to put him there. Has a solid bat. He's a switch hitter, so we do like that. So we're going to go ahead and put him in the lineup every day and see what he does for us for the next couple weeks until we can get Mason Davis back. But that is the moves that I made. I've also kind of done some scouting on some potential trades that I'm looking at. I have a kind of a log jam of prospects in AA and AAA, and it's getting to the point to where a lot of them are very similar, and I could just foresee like this. Some of them are going to get stuck in minor leagues and aren't going to get their fair shake. So my thought process is those guys that are probably not going to play in the major leagues valuable innings for us, whether it be a utility guy or start for us. I'm trying to extract their value as much as I can and as early as I can while they're younger. So I have scouted a few trades. I have not completed any trades because I didn't have a very high accuracy on the prospects or the players that I was trading for. So I'm waiting to hear back from the scout just to see what his updated report is on them. And then once I get that, I will reassess the trade. And if it goes through or I push it through, then I will let you guys know, obviously, who it was and who I will be receiving. So that is pretty much gotten you up to date with what is going on here behind the scenes and in real time here. So it is time to get June underway, and hopefully we can repeat what we did in May and get even farther ahead of 500. If you guys remember last season, we kind of lingered right here at this 5 to 10 games above 500 just about the entire season. So looking to kind of separate ourselves a little bit. I feel optimistic that we are playing as well as we are without Mason Davis and without Cardenas. We did just lose Cardenas. I think we've played 2 games without him. So not a very good sample size there. But nonetheless, we are winning quite often without Mason Davis in the lineup, which is our best power hitter, one of our best power hitters. But enough of me rambling on. I apologize. Let's go ahead and get to the schedule and get this thing moving forward. We will play 3 games at home against Tampa Bay to start the month of June, and then go on the road against the Yankees, who currently lead our division, and then come back home against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Hopefully we can get this month off to a good start. And we don't have a terrible start to the month. We'll get to that. We're about halfway through it now, but do want to fill you guys in. Mason Davis is back in the lineup. We did not give him a rehab assignment. He was only out about 4 weeks, so we went ahead and just put him back in the big league team. And then the corresponding move was Welbin Francisca. We did send him down. He just isn't... He doesn't have a spot right now. I love the guy. He's always played well for us. He's struggling this year, but he's always done well for us. And unfortunately, I think that time is coming to an end. He is due for arbitration next year at $3.5 million. So I will be looking to potentially move him and see what value is left out of him. We just don't have place for him, especially at that kind of money. There's no sense in paying someone that much money when we have 4 or 5 guys, more than that, really, that can do what he does. So, and they're going to be making the major league minimum. So just a business deal at that point. We do like Welbin, but again, business is business. So we sent him down to make room for Mason, and he is back. Moving on to our schedule. It looks like we have started the month 6-3. So we took 2 out of 3 against Tampa Bay, but then lost 2 of 3 to New York. But then we came right back and swept the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And now we have Houston, Detroit, and Minnesota on the docket. At 34-26, we now sit second in the American League East. 3.5 games back from the New York Yankees, who unfortunately we lost the series to them. That would have been a nice time to play well against them, but it just was not meant to be. So now we move on and try to catch them in other ways. So that's all of the news. Actually, one more piece of news I forgot to give you guys, and that is Jeff Middleton on his rehab assignment has back tightness, so he is day to day with that. Gonna last him about a week. Everything is influenced minimal, except for running, which obviously he's not gonna do any of that. However, just to be safe, I did bench him for the next week just to err on the side of caution, and then he can pick back up after that and continue on his rehab assignment. We were about to bring him back up, but when we were bringing Mason off the injured list, we noticed that he was also back down. So we will stand by for that, and hopefully he can recover from his back tightness and not linger the rest of the season. But let's continue on here in June. And just as I mentioned that Welvin Francisca did not have a spot anymore, we lose our third baseman who was filling in for Cardenas, who we had to shift over our other third baseman into his place. It's been a lot of back and forth in the infield. So Steve Cook went down with a sprained knee, and he's going to be out for 5 weeks. So 5 weeks plus probably a week for rehab would put him out for about 6 weeks. So because of that, we have moved Eddie Towler, our backup kind of utility guy. He's going to play every day at third base. He's hitting well for us this year, having his best year ever for us. Coincidentally, since he's, arbitration eligible. But we're going to ride the hot hand and play his defense. That's his best position, is third base. So he's going to fill in at third base for us. And then Welvin Francisca is going to be the utility second base and third baseman. He doesn't play a very good shortstop. So when Isaac Cardenas, our original third baseman, who moved over to short, whenever he has to have a day off or something, Towler will come in and play shortstop, and then Welvin would get in. So there's going to be some back and forth that has to work out there with the manager, but nonetheless gives the guys a break. And then Mendoza is going to fill in for our backup DH when Blaze Jordan has to play first base for Fouts. So still have a good lineup, still have a good team. We are not playing that well right now. We unfortunately lost each of the first 2 series since I have spoke to you guys. 2 of 3 from Houston, and then lost 2 of 3 from Detroit. So now we have split the first 2 games against Minnesota and hoping to win that one, and then we go on the road, we stay home or come home against Texas, then go back on the road against San Jose. This is our second time playing San Jose, so hopefully we can finish the month strong. We are currently 9-8 in the month. But yeah, that's the update. Let's keep this thing rolling. And the hits keep coming, guys. We are just snake bit on injuries here in June. Gunnar Sechka, our everyday second baseman, is out with a concussion for 5 weeks. That 4 and 5 week mark seems to be our mark for every injury. Unfortunately, he is a captain for us, or is our team captain. Struggling a little bit this year, but nonetheless a rookie. So we're just going to let him figure it out, and that captain personality was going to play, and he has great speed. But nonetheless, he is going to have to sit down for a little over a month, and we're going to have to place him on the IL, and that's going to more than likely looks like give Welvin Francisca a everyday spot at second base. So now we have to go find another infielder to fill this spot and give these guys a break so that they don't get tired, because it does appear that these two guys are going to be out. So Steve Cook still has 4 weeks. Sejka has 5 weeks. Obviously, we do get Cardenas apparently back in 1 week. So we will see if that happens. If it does, then that's great. If it doesn't, then we'll have to be prepared to have someone up a little bit longer term. So I'm going to go to the minor leagues and see who we got to fill in this middle infield utility role, and I'll let you guys know. And we are going to promote Steve Geiger, our third-round draft pick in 2028. He has good leadership and intelligence, plays an okay second base and third base. Not the greatest defender, but has a really respectable major league ready bat. We're still waiting on that power to develop, but it is slowly getting up there. But his contact, his BABIP, his void K, and his eye is all major league ready. So we like that. And for a backup guy, yes, he doesn't have the greatest defense. The player with the best defense that we were wanting to bring up is Alfredo Gazar. Unfortunately, I just don't want to move him up yet. He still needs to fill a few developmental things. Get that avoid K rating up, get the gap power and the eye up, and then we'll talk. But I think he still needs to develop a little bit. Hoping that happens this year. If it does, then maybe we can see him in September with that defense. But right now we went with the bat. And just giving Gazar a little bit more time to develop in the minor leagues with the everyday playing and stuff like that. So that is the move we have made. We are also going to have to make another move. Jeff Middleton is going to have to come off of his rehab assignment. But because he was on the 60-day IL, that means that he was not on our 40-man roster. So that was kind of an oversight by me not leaving a spot for him. I kind of filled it, so got to go through here and see who it is I want to DFA, and hopefully someone that won't get picked up and that I can just stash back in the minor leagues. But nonetheless, I need to go through, and I will let you guys know who is DFA'd to make room on the roster. And we've actually made 2 moves. We have DFA'd 2 players, I should say. We DFA'd Caleb Bill, who doesn't play a position well enough. Second base, third base, doesn't really play position well. He does have good traits. And can play a decent first base, but obviously we are locked in on first base currently. So he was the odd man out. And then Chase Hampton, who is just pitching miserable for us this year at the 6.3 ERA in 30 innings. We were using him as like a long relief guy, but now we have pivoted against that because we just can't have that 6 ERA in our bullpen. He was making $4.5 million, 4.3 to be exact, and his arbitration number was over 7. So very good likelihood, or just an absolute certainty, that we wouldn't bring him back for that at 32 years old, almost 33 years old. So we waived and DFA'd him because there was absolutely no one that wanted to trade for him. We thought we shopped him around, but there was nothing. So we feel pretty good about not having anyone pick him up, and we can just stash him back in the minor leagues and then not have to pay him that $7 million next year. So that is what we have done, and then we slid Jeff Middleton back into a setup role. I thought about putting him as the closer, but I went against that because Connor Cook is just doing well there. He's got a 2.35 ERA with 13 saves. So absolutely no complaints really there. No complaints really anywhere in my bullpen now because we don't have anyone over a 3.2 ERA in the bullpen. So, 3.3 ERA is the highest ERA in the bullpen currently. Pitching, our starting rotation isn't the same. Carlos Hernandez is struggling. He's got a 6.03 ERA. He's only got 2 quality starts and 15 starts, so that is definitely not what he has done for us in the past. We are going to give him the end of July, and if there's no improvement, then we'll look at maybe making a change and moving up one of the young guys in the minor leagues or going to get someone at a trade deadline. So that is kind of our weak point in the rotation. Everyone else isn't pitching great, but they're not pitching terrible. If a 4.38 ERA isn't terrible, but 4.38, 4.37, a 4.30, and then Taj Bradley, who coincidentally has a 1-7 win-loss record, but he has a 3.47 ERA, the best ERA on the in the rotation. So interesting there, but nonetheless, that is our current situation with our pitching. So hopefully the starting pitching can turn things around. We have split the first 2 games against Texas. We won 2 of 3 at Minnesota. We almost pulled off the sweep. We lost that middle game in extra innings. So looking to win the series here against Texas and then maybe sweep San Jose, hopefully. I don't know. We are 11-9 in the month of June, so definitely wanting to finish above 500. Pitching, our starter ERA is at 11th now, so that is starting to trend in the wrong direction. And we have allowed the second worst amount of home runs in the American League, so definitely need to fix that. Our hitting has kind of stayed in the same area as it was at the end of May. We're kind of middle of the pack. A couple of those categories are top 5, like batting average, hits, WAR is in 6th. So a couple of categories are creeping up. So we are definitely trending in the right direction for hitting. Our bullpen ERA is trending in the right direction as well at 2.92. That's definitely first. So let's finish out June and then hopefully don't have to deal with any more injuries and can get some players back here in July. And I can't even believe all this. The hits just keep coming. We just lost Javorsky Elaine Jr. for 6 weeks. He's got a bone spur, so he was our everyday right fielder. So not ideal. He was struggling a little bit, but he wasn't struggling defensive-wise, and he was playing every day for us. And now Welbin Francisca is out, and we are pending his diagnosis to his leg. So we could potentially lose 2 players here. One is out currently and on the IL. I've already moved him over, and then Welbin obviously can't play, so now I have to fill a hole, and I really don't have a person to fill it. I mean, I put Geiger in Welbin's position, so he will start, but now with Lane out, Mendoza had to go and be the right fielder, so there's no backup outfielder and really no backup middle infielder to give any of these guys breaks. So I'm going to have to get creative here and look and see what's in the organization. And good thing I made a extra spot on the 40-man roster because I'm going to have to bring someone up that can play in multiple positions, I think. The only good news is Juan Cardenas comes back in 5 days. So I could get away with it, potentially bringing up a outfielder. And then in 5 days, Cardenas could take the load off of one of the defensive spots in the infield, and that would give me a backup infielder. The only issue is for the next 5 days, they all have to play without anyone spelling them, and that problem is kind of Isaac Cardenas is already at exhausted, so he needs a day off. So I would ideally not want to go 5 more days before giving him a day off. He could get injured, you name it. So I'm going to have to bring up a infielder first, see what's going on with Welbin, and then adjust and maybe bring up an outfielder when Cardenas comes back, because none of the outfielders are tired today. So I think that for 5 days they'll be all right. So I think I'm going to shoot for an infielder first and let you guys know what is the outcome whenever I find that infielder. And the player that we have selected is Camden Cozell. A trade that we did back in 2030 resulted from this player resulted from a trade that we did back in 2030. Good leadership, adaptability, and intelligence. Plays a decent infield and has a respectable bat. So we are going to call him up and put him on the 40-man roster and see what Francisca's injuries are. Hopefully they're not serious. And then we may have to send Camden back down soon. That would be ideal, was having to send him back down. But we will see what the OOTP gods have in store for us. It is June 29th. I'll go ahead and get it to July 30th, and then we'll take a look at the results from the month and hopefully know more about Mr. Francisca. And it is unfortunate news for Welbin Francisca. He is going to be out for 3 months with a torn meniscus in his knee. So we have placed him on the 60-day IL. The only good news is that does free up a spot on the 40-man roster and allows us to call up another player, potentially an outfielder it looks like, and hopefully can fill in and give the outfielders some days off as they're getting tired. So unfortunate news, but is what it is. June was an absolute terrible month for us when it came to injuries. We are good, so happy to put that behind us. We'll do kind of a recap here in just a second. I want to fill you guys in on some more news. We mentioned that we DFA'd Chase Hampton because he was making $6 million, or what is it, like $4 or $5 million, and gonna make $7 million next year, and he has a 6 ERA with us. So we did DFA him. Chase Hampton was picked up by the Milwaukee Brewers. So is what it is. Not a huge loss for us. Just never really. It was going to be his last season with us anyways at that price tag. So he wasn't performing. Didn't have any trade value. Is what it is. We are moving on from Chase Hampton. But nonetheless, let's take a look at the month of June. We finished the month just over 500 at 13-12, which is absolutely remarkable in my opinion, considering where we were or where we are with injuries. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous, the injuries that we have right now. This is the most I've had in a long time. And to be only 4 games back at 41-35 is a testament to our depth and our minor league system that we're having to rely on heavily here. So a 13-12 month with all those injuries, I'll take that. We'll move on to July. We do get one of our key players back in Juan Cardenas. He comes back in 3 days. We'll most likely just slide him back into the Major League lineup just because we have so many injuries piling up. We don't really have anyone else to bring up, so we need to put him back in the lineup and get him going. Hopefully he comes back and isn't too rusty, but we do need his bat desperately to get back in the lineup. No other updates on any of the other players, no setbacks at this time. Hopefully there are no setbacks and that we can get fully healthy going into August and September and make a run for this thing down the stretch. Checking in on the team stats, still first in bullpen ERA. Our starters ERA has come down from 11 to 8th, so that is great news. Overall, our ERA is third best in the American League, which is probably how we're hanging in here. So is what it is, but we're making it work somehow. Hitting, not terrible. We're top 5 still in average. Looks like we're top 5 in WAR now. We're in 4th now for hits. 9th in runs scored, so I'd like to pick that up a little bit. 14th in home runs and 14th in base on balls, which has always been a struggle for us, so we do need to work on that in the off season. And our base running is not very good. We were 10th in the AL in base running, so a couple of things we can definitely work on. But all in all, considering where our injuries are at and where we are in the standings, we will take that month and move on to July. July is a big month for us. Obviously has the first-year player draft and the All-Star game, but we have a pretty full slate until the All-Star game. So All-Star game is on the 21st, so we will start the month against Cleveland. We already started that series. We lost the first game, which was the last game of June, in extra innings. We were really struggling in extra innings. I think we were like 2-7. Yeah, 2-7 in extra inning games. So definitely not ideal there. But we have 2 more against Cleveland, and then 3 against Boston, 3 against Toronto, and then Seattle. And then we will go to Kansas City before we go into the last series before the All-Star break. Pretty big couple of series coming up with Boston and Toronto being in our division. Hopefully we can play well against them and make up some ground in the division. We aren't trailing any of those teams, but we are tied with the Toronto Blue Jays at 41-35. Red Sox are 35-39. We're trailing just the Tigers and the Yankees, so we do need to make up some ground. Would like to be in first place soon, but I would not be surprised if we stay around this 41-35, 5 to 10 games above 500 again. Seems to be our trend the last 2 years, but with these injuries, I get it this year. But we shall see. Let's go ahead and get through the first couple weeks of July and get close to that draft. And we have made it to July 11th, which is the day of the first year player draft. Has not been a good month at all, guys. We are 3 and I believe 6. Yes, 3 and 6 on the month. It has been abysmal. We have lost some close games, but nonetheless, they are losses. We have only taken 1 game from Boston and 1 game from Toronto, and then we took the first game against Seattle. So hopefully we can, sweep or win this series and finish strong before the All-Star break. But we are pausing play for a little bit to check in on the first-year player draft. Also, Juan Cardenas is back in the lineup. Seems to be doing fine, hitting 274. He came back and looks like he's gotten a hit in every single game but one since he's been back. So he is trending in the right direction, and it looks like he didn't lose too much and isn't too rusty, I should say. So good to have him back in the lineup. It definitely helps us a lot. It gives us more flexibility with our lineup and our utility guys. Currently, though, we're a little concerned about Vicente. He is struggling mightily at the plate, hitting 235. So hoping that this is his low point and he can get things hot. Mason Davis has begun to hit, and I would say he had a little bit of rustiness when he came back. It seemed a little slow. He went a little while without hitting a home run, and then all of a sudden he's hit 3 in the last 5 games, and he's up to 16 on the year. So he's going in the right direction and starting to produce again for us as always. So good to get his bat going. Jorge Rivera continues to hit for us, 252, 23 home runs, has a 113 WRC plus currently, and does have 9 stolen bases. So he could he potentially get to the 2020 or 30-20 mark? He had 9 stolen bases at like the whole year last year. So he's already got that this year. Checking in on Mason's got 6 stolen bases this year. He did do 30-20 last year. Gonna be tough to get there this year, but it's possible. He did miss, quite a few weeks or about a month of play, so it's possible, but he's gonna have to turn things on. Pitching wise, Carlos Hernandez has trended in the right direction. His ERA is down to a 5.36 whenever it was a 6.03 when we last talked, so it is coming in the right direction. Greg Ricks, Walkie Boer, and Artem Alvarado have all been about the same since we last checked in on them. Walkie's been a little bit better, although last game out he did allow 3 earned runs, which isn't terrible. It's still a quality start. He has 12 quality starts out of 18 starts, so that is a very good number. We like that. And Taj Bradley continues to lead the team in ERA, but he only has 5 quality starts in 16 total starts. So doesn't seem to be going the distance as often as Walkie Boer, but nonetheless has the better ERA, which makes sense. He's pitching less innings. But he's still 2-8, which is crazy. He's still got the worst record on the team at 2-8. Artem Alvarado, 15 games started, 8 of those are quality starts. His ERA is going in the right direction. It did pop back up after the last start. He did allow 5 runs. So a lot of improvement in the rotation. Our bullpen is still doing great. Connor Cook's ERA is down to a 1.82 as our closer, so we love that. William Schmidt, who we were concerned about in his control, he's down to a 2.4 walk rate. Walk per 9 this season, and he's allowing 0.6 home runs per 9, which is great because he's a fly ball pitcher and he doesn't have good control. So he's got a 2.12 ERA and almost 30 innings pitched. So he's been phenomenal for us, and hopefully we get more of that throughout the rest of the season. Bullpen's been great. Just got to round out that rotation and get those guys below 4 ERA, and I think we'll be in really good shape. 44 and 41 though, so starting the month the way we did has hurt us. We were ever so close to 500, but we're still only 5.5 games back, so we've only really lost a game and a half. I think we were 4 games back. It may have been 3.5 games, but haven't lost a whole lot of ground in this 3-6 start of the month. So hopefully we can get things turned around and finish the month strong. But let's go ahead and check in on the first player draft and see what's available. So we are picking 25th overall in this year's draft. Another late round pick just because we have played well the last couple of years. Again, this is kind of where we want to be in the later part of the rounds. That means we're doing well. But unfortunately, it means that you're not going to have a whole lot to choose from as far as top-tier prospects. So what I'm going to do, instead of looking over those top tier prospects, knowing that I'm not going to get them, I won't even, waste your guys' time. I'm going to go ahead and sim to our pick, and we will look at who is left over for us and go from there. Okay, a couple of prospects left. Greg Garrett, a pitcher, a right-handed pitcher, 19-year-old high schooler, wanting $2.2 million, so that's fairly cheap, I would say. Pretty decent profile, good stuff, good home run allowed rating. Wow, sorry, brain fart, guys. Solid control, good slider, changeup, splitter, and cutter. Very good stuff. Ground ball pitcher, so we do like that. Only real downside is he wants a lot of money, or he's got high financial ambition, so potentially could want a lot of money. He just turned 19 and is committed to Cal Poly, so doesn't say he is impossible to sign. It just says he is extremely hard to sign. But I think if we give him the money he is looking for, he would probably sign. Next is Kevin Leonard. Low work ethic, high financial ambition. Only wants $950,000. Don't really love his profile. I would definitely pick Mr. Garrett over Leonard. Next is Andy Welch, another pitching prospect. This time wanting quite a bit of money. He has good work ethic and low financial ambition, which is ironic because he wants a ton of money. Low leadership, good stamina, can hold on runners, and has 3 really good potential pitches. We do worry about the changeup. Even though it's already at 35, we still worry about that changeup. In this game, I think I have PTSD from the previous game and that changeup not developing. So if it doesn't develop, we could potentially waste our first round pick on a 2-pitch pitcher in the bullpen. So that's not ideal. And his stuff rating is a 25, which isn't promising considering his rating potential is 65, but that's his lowest rated category, and he's 18 or will be 18 years old pretty soon. So some red flags with him, and at $8.5 million, I think it would be wise to probably not go with him. Next is Steve Billings. Not a ton to like here, not a ton to hate either, but it looks like he's a two-way player. Looks like he plays first base and he pitches. So we will look at his stats. Could be a very respectable bat. Average contact, average BABIP, avoid K rating, average power, average gap power, and a decent eye. It could be a very respectable hitter. Isn't going to run at all. And could be a respectable pitcher. So definitely a potential two-way player. Don't really have a spot for him at first base, but not a bad prospect considering he plays both sides and can hit from both sides, or can hit and pitch at a respectable rate. Next is Josh Cecil. We'll look at a couple more here. Good adaptability, work ethic, and intelligence. We like that. Not a great profile other than that. Looks like he's going to be an averages hitter and isn't going to play defense. So you guys know I don't like that. Another pitcher here, Joe Dawson. Not bad. 3 pitches that could be solid pitches. Holds on runners well, good stamina, good loyalty. Question the movement and the stuff a little bit, lower than what I typically like, especially for a first rounder. And next is Chris Evanuik, another pitcher. This is a reliever. Looks like he's going to have decent couple pitches, but again, I'm not going to waste that on a first rounder. Now we'll finish out the 4-star guys. John Mungia, nickname Shiny. Left-handed pitcher, 2-pitch pitcher though, so another bullpen guy. Does have a pretty good profile though for a bullpen guy, I will say that. Great movement and stuff, 2 solid or really good pitches, decent control, holds on runners well. This dude's going to be a very good reliever, and he's a lefty. So if he's around in second or third round, he would be very tempting. I just don't know if I could do a reliever in the first round. I mean, I get it, it's the late stages of the first round, but I just don't know if I could do it. Trey Overstreet, an average-ish pitcher, wanting $6 million. Don't love that. Low financial ambition, but his profile is average-ish at best. And 2 more here. Joey Tavano, a outfielder that has high financial ambition, but also high intelligence, low leadership, and low loyalty. Only won $1.4 million and has a decent hitting profile for a corner outfielder. So we do like his hitting profile. Doesn't have any speed. Not a crazy fan of the leadership traits, but hitting-wise, he's definitely the best hitter that we've looked at so far. And last but not least is Chris Young. Fragile, wanting $6.5 million. Kind of an okay curveball. Changeup is already at 40, so we like that. That might actually develop to its full potential, which is good because then he'll be a 3-pitch pitcher. He has good work ethic and a decent profile other than the curveball. Ground ball pitcher, only throws 90 to 92, but we don't like the fact that he is fragile and is already wanting $7.5 million. So those are the top available prospects according to our scout currently. That's all the way from the 4.5 stars down through the 4 stars. I will take a look offline and see who it is I like. If you guys got any suggestions, any comments, or any favorites, please let me know. I will pause the episode or end this episode here and pick up the next episode where we left off and show you guys who I go with in the first round. No one really jumps off of the page with me. I'm probably going to go with a pitcher, I would say more than likely, just because there really aren't any hitters that I like besides Tavano. I like his hitting profile, but I don't know if I like his personality enough to take him. So I got some decisions to make in the in-between episodes time, and some players to look at to see who I think is best fit for this team going forward long term. But yeah, if you guys got any suggestions, comments, concerns, just let me know in the comment box. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.